This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Liberation Freeze for Game 1 of the Christmas Turbo Tournament 1. We'll explain that in just a moment, but in the north, playing the Green Soviets, this is Green Alert. He is properly themed, and he is going to be battling it out in a best-of-1 against the Red Allies in the bottom right-hand corner. This is Dutch Army. Now, those of you who are a little bit more familiar with Red Alert 3, with the competitive scene, you might be seeing this as a bit of a mismatch, and I think I'm going to have to agree with you. Green Alert drawing Dutch armies in round 1 of the Turbo Tournament is a bit unfortunate, but Demon is also in this tournament, so there's not necessarily an easy path forward here. If he's on the other side of the bracket, he gets, I think, maybe 1 round, and then he would be facing Demon, and it's not a good setup, but Green Alert faced off against Pika in the Christmas double elimination. He did much better than I was expecting, and I'm excited to see this guy play some more in the future. I hope he continues to get better. He continues to develop as a player. Would be great to see another Soviet player be coming in and rising up. We've seen Dutch Army in the last couple of years really rise up to that level, going up against players like Demon, going up against some of the best in the game. And we saw in the Christmas tournament, he had some trouble with DDF, but everybody had some trouble with DDF in the double elimination. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, over on GameReplays.org, it's become a little bit of a tradition for players, not for players, for the tournament organizers, Rage of Heat, to set up basically 3 tournaments for the Christmas season. There is a double elimination, which usually has a little bit more of a prize pool. It's a bit more of a bigger event, and then you have 2 turbo tournaments. So, if you don't have the time to play in a double elimination, there's a turbo tournament waiting for you, usually the next day, and the 2 turbo tournaments will be stacked in, or they'll be offset in their time zones. So if you can't make the first one, maybe you can make the second one. If the day of the week for the double elimination doesn't work out, then you've got another option to join one of the turbo tournaments. And the turbo tournaments are best-of-1 rounds up to a best-of-3 finals. So, like the name implies, it is a turbo event. It resolves itself very, very quickly, and that means Green Alert only needs to beat Dutch Army in 1 game. He doesn't have to win a best-of-7. He doesn't have to pull out a whole bunch of tricks or some crazy plays. He just has to beat Dutch armies in 1 game, and then he can advance on to the next round of the event. Dutch Army is going to be opening up with a little bit of Riptide harassment. Coming in here, some Peacekeepers, some Javelin Troopers mixed in with these Riptides, and it's going to be Stingrays and Bullfrogs on the south side of the map for Green Alert. There's going to be the 3rd refinery coming up. Dutch Army's maybe a little bit slower to his 3rd refinery, but he's got the Vindicators on the way. His Dolphin is coming in to try and shut down the Bullfrog, shut down the Stingrays, but it'll be the Vindicator that gets the kill while the Riptides are harassing over at the natural expansion, and this is a ton of infantry. Narrowly avoids death. Green Alert is hoping that he can survive this initial onslaught, but without Bullfrogs, but without anti-air, it is going to be extremely difficult as the game progresses. The Naval Yard was already sold off, so he's rebuilding it on the front line. Bear's going to be coming in from the north side. Actually, a really good roar there. If it was just the infantry he had to worry about, this would be a really good cleanup from Green Alert, but here comes the cavalry from the sky. The Vindicator will get a couple of kills here. 1 Stingray goes down, the other Stingray goes down, and the next Vindicator is here to clean up more Stingrays. Green Alert pulling off 1 good engagement, but he already lost his Bullfrogs earlier. He's already been cut down on that anti-air front. He has been cutting massive corners to try and get that 3rd refinery out as quickly as he did. And now it's 1 Bullfrog versus, I think, already 3 Vindicators. And, of course, Dutch Army's going to be hoping to save his oil derrick. He's going to cut down those conscripts right on the front line. 2nd Bullfrog is out. 1 Vindicator may have to pay for this, but there's the bomb split. Really good bomb splitting there by Dutch armies, and he dodges away. He saves the oil derrick, dodges the Vindicator away to the south, and now will be coming in at a cleaner angle to return to base after killing off that Bullfrog and heavily damaging the 2nd. All right. Green Alert had one good engagement. He had an okay setup, but it has been going poorly since then. He's been able to bounce back a little bit. Of course, no Crusher Crane means that that Bullfrog is going to just be weak for the next minute or, well, maybe until the Vindicators kill him off. But Satellites do clean up the oil derrick, so that's a little bit of a win for Green Alert. Vindicators still shirking around, looking for that target, looking for that opening. And Dutch Army, it feels like from here he can do whatever he wants. And indeed, he is going to do whatever he wants. Cryocopter is out. Freeze comes in, tries to lock down the Ore Collector, but the Vindicators didn't actually dive in. I'm not sure what the plan was there. Maybe he just wanted to pull off everything to the north. Even if that wasn't his original plan, he has pivoted and decided to attack in the south. Everything, Bullfrogs and all, swings up to the north side, and now suddenly the third is under assault. The MCV is running for the hills. Green Alert has been on the back foot trying to survive, and now, of course, his survival has gotten even worse. Cryocopter is here, and Vindicators on Overwatch as well. 2 Cryocopters, 3 Vindicators just hanging out there. War Factory comes up. He had to cancel this War Factory as he moved his MCV onto land to try and save it from all of the forces here. Cryocopters come in. There's going to be the shutdown with the Hydrofoil as well. And Green Alert, who has been running in circles, trying to find some kind of defense, is now just running out of oxygen, running out of energy to keep on moving. Hammer Tank is out. Another Harvester goes down. Green Alert's economy coming close to 0, and I don't think it will ever recover. Dutch Army has played this one out close to perfectly. He lost his oil derrick. Maybe he lost some other units as well. I guess he kind of lost this engagement here against the Stingrays and the Bears, but other than that, Dutch Armies has been playing this one out very carefully, very cautiously, and just been playing it out close to perfect. No mistakes, no big losses after that first tussle. And now, well, if the Cryocopters freeze the MCV, things go from very, very bad to very, very even worse for Green Alert. He's going to try for the high ground expansion. War Factory is up. I'm actually kind of surprised we don't have Tier 3 yet from Dutch Armies. Just all of the time, all of the space that he's had to be able to do whatever he wants. Harvester makes an escape out the back. Riptide won't get the kill there, but this is even more lost mining time for these Harvesters for Green Alert. His income is almost at a 3 refinery place, but in reality, it is nowhere close to 3 refineries worth of income. The amount of lost mining time, the amount of Harvester rebuilds. I do like the reactor block of that Hydrofoil. Nope, that's not a Hydrofoil. Of that Riptide. But once again, now 4 Cryocopters moving in. Dutch Army is so incredibly far ahead, and adding Cryocopters on and delaying this third even more. I mean, it was already an extremely slow building third. Green Alert does not have the liquid cash flow to support this. He has 1 Hammer Tank and a bunch of Bullfrogs. Oh, no, he's got 2 Hammer Tanks now. But even so, it is not much of a fair fight between these two at this moment. Green Alert, he had a pretty good showing versus Pika. He had some fun battles. He's had some good moments, but it is just not enough against these players. Terror Drone's going to be coming on out. Guardian Tank's going to be engaging with the hammers. Vindicators making that not a fair fight, as the Guardian Tank's going to be pushing away the Bullfrogs. The Cryocopter's going for the freeze on the refinery, and it's going to be the kill of a refinery. Gets a little bit of cash back there, but it really doesn't matter. More Guardian Tanks rolling to the front line, and this best of one looking like it's finally coming to a conclusion. It's finally coming to an end as these Bullfrogs get basically instantly frozen and destroyed. The GG comes out, and that will do it for Green Alert. That will do it for game number 1. Dutch Armies will take the first win of the Turbo Tournament. He will advance on into the next round, but it's still best of ones as we head to the bottom side of the bracket. And that takes us to Infinity Isle for our next best of one. On the right side, playing as the Blue Allies, this is Darknage, or Darknage. And on the left side, as the Green Allies, this is an MMR terrorist. He is going to terrorize your MMR, apparently. Darknage, a player that we've seen a couple of times before. Not a ton in tournaments, at least not in the tournament replays I've casted. But MMR Terrorist, I have no idea who this is. This could be somebody smurfing, or this might very well just be a player that I am unfamiliar with. But either way, we do have two players who I've seen very few 1v1s from. And we'll see. It does look like it's a reasonably active opening in the beginning, but this game might kind of turn into a bit of a longer one, depending on what the skill matchup is between these two players. Scouting Dogs going to be going to the north and to the south. So far, it is going to be lots of Peacekeepers into the middle of the map, and in an allied mirror, it can always be a weird, oh, I guess in any mirror, but in an allied mirror, it can be a weird dance in the middle of the map as both players inch their Peacekeepers closer to each other, but try not to actually step into firing range, and they do this little back and forth dance. Dog comes in for the scout from Darknage. MCVs have moved to the back of the base, so there was going to be the refinery block attempt by the MMR Terrorist, and it looks like Darknage will be losing a Peacekeeper or two on the front lines and then trying to get the surprise turnaround on his opponents. Refineries are relatively close to each other in terms of building time. All right. That refinery, or that harvester unsure of what he wants to do with his life. All right, we do have an immediate multi-gunner turret. So we'll see if that's a good idea. 2 Vindicators can knock that down pretty easy. So it's not necessarily cost-effective to just deploy that if you don't know that there's a naval yard and like 1 dolphin on the way. But we'll see. Maybe it'll end up being the perfect move here, as the Peacekeeper's going to be engaging in the middle of the map. A little bit of shield micro back and forth from each player, and it's just a spaghetti mess of blue and green shotguns going back and forth. It does look like the MMR Terrorist will terrorize the Peacekeepers of his opponent and push on forward. Dog comes in for the rescout. Going to be taking a look in the base of the Terrorist. And I should mention, I forgot to say, whoever wins this game faces Demon. So the next round, Demon is waiting for you in a best of 1. It's not a good prize to win a best of 1 in a tournament and then be like, all right, now I get to face Demon. But it is a prize nonetheless. Riptide going to be moving forward. Demon waiting in the next round means that this is going to be the easiest fight of the event, most likely. Because on the off chance that one of these players did manage to beat Demon in a 1v1, it is then going to be either Dutch armies or whoever beats Dutch armies waiting in the final. And, of course, we'll be getting into that game next, Dutch armies versus his next opponent. But let's just say statistically, it'll be a good shot that it is Dutch armies in the final. So what a tournament run that would be, beating Demon and then having to face Dutch armies immediately after. But of course, they are going to be short rounds. They are going to be short, a short event overall. I mean, with the rounds in this tournament, it's 2 early rounds and then the semifinals and then the finals. So it's 4 best of 1s and then a best of 3. There's literally only a maximum of 7 games that are possible in this event. Unlike, you know, the Kane's Wrath Winter Championship that we just wrapped up, which wasn't even just a single-day event. It was a whole league, basically, with group stages then into playoffs, and the playoffs were double eliminations, and the playoffs basically started at a best of 5, and they just got longer from there. So going from an insane number of games down to literally 7 being the maximum number of games. And hey, look at that! Darknage seems to have found an amazing weakness on building a multi-gunner turret immediately, and then on one side of the refinery. Apollos, Vindicators, and a Cryocopter going to be looking for even more damage. Won't be able to kill off that Harvester, it seems, because there will be a guarding Javelin Soldier. Meanwhile, Darknage will be losing. That Harvester loses the Riptide as well. So he's going to be striking back against his opponent. He's going to be able to knock down that refinery, it seems, and he's going to be losing his own Harvester. But he might be able to save the refinery with his Riptides coming in. being able to do that damage to the Dolphins, being able to snipe them down one by one. Good splash damage from the MMR terrorist. That's actually really good positioning on his units. Ultimately, he didn't have enough to actually kill off the refinery. Where's the Vindicator? Where did the Vindicator go? Wait, what just happened? I actually don't know. The Vindicator, did he get the Vindicator shot down by a Javelin soldier? Because if so, that does, that really stinks that he lost the Vindicator right when he freezes that refinery. That would be a bit unfortunate. Apollo's going to be trying to chase down the Cryocopter, gets the Cryocopter as well. And the Apollo will be able to escape. Might be able to get it when it lands, but it is going to be a double airfield follow-up for the MMR terrorist. Deploying another power plant. He's got the walls out front. He wants that little bit of delay, that little bit of buffer, and Cryo Shot fires off. The return fire coming in here from the MMR terrorist does miss the kill on that Harvester, misses the freeze, and these Dolphins going to be dancing away, but that only actually decreases their effectiveness as reinforcements show up for Darknage. The front line has moved to the water. It has moved to the skies, as neither one of these players wants to field a ground army at the current moment. Tier 2 online, but no War Factory. So no Guardian tanks, nothing like that. Even no Javelin soldiers in the middle of the map, which might be a good way to help solve some of these anti-air fights that we're having. Tier 2 is up for MMR Terrorist as well, but he doesn't necessarily have the cash on hand to get a bunch of Cryocopters. Might be able to sneak one Cryocopter out with his 4 refinery economy. Well, 3 refinery economy. I'm still so amazed that this Harvester, that the refinery survived being manually frozen by one Cryocopter like that. And the Dolphin skirts past this multi-gunner turret. One Harvester goes down. Javelins will get the kill on the Vindicator, so that is what happened to that Vindicator. But the Dolphins now going to try and go for the kill on that ore refinery, going for the splash damage as well as the Vindicators drop their bombs, and both of the Dolphins go down. So MMR Terrorist has survived a little bit longer. That refinery has taken so much damage and so many potential attacks from so many places, and yet it is still alive. It is still around. It's still kicking. Tier 3 comes in, but still no War Factory. This has to be a War Factory, right? There we go. War Factory online. Athena Cannons on the way. Athena Cannons. Darknage has, 1,500 credits in the bank. He's got a little bit of cash on hand to start that Athena Cannon production. Riptide going to be coming in here. Hydrofoil will be shutting down that Prospector. The Riptide does get the kill, but a second Riptide will guarantee the death on that Hydrofoil should it choose to stick around. Tier 2 still persists for MMR Terrorist. He has not gotten his Tier 3 upgrade just yet, which means there is a pretty big window of opportunity for Darknage to move in here and actually do some damage. Dolphin right on the edge of the red HP. That refinery taking a beating. Once again, we'll see if the Vindicators come in time to save that refinery, unless those Apollos are what left first. Nope, it was the Vindicator. And the refinery gets saved again. It's like 4 saves on that refinery as the Harvester goes down to the Assault Destroyer. You have to hand it to these guys. They may not be able to put up a fight against Demon and Dutch armies, but they're being very active on the map. They're absolutely trying almost everything that they can to get kills, to get the win, to get the Harvesters, all of that stuff. The harassment has been pretty much constant. These two guys have been going at it pretty much all out. Apollo's going to be maybe taking a little bit of extra damage. We'll see if they're actually going to go down. And Riptide torpedoes just circling and circling and circling that Assault Destroyer. One of those fun things that can happen with the Black Hole armor. Dolphin going to be targeting down that Hydrofoil. And, well, the Hydrofoil will, or the Dolphin will get the kill, and the refinery will be sold off. Aircraft carrier is out, so it's not going to be the Athena Cannon. It will be the aircraft carrier, and it gets sunk basically immediately. The Harvester goes down, but the refinery does survive. Any Athena Cannons on the front line? 2 Athena Cannons on the front line, going to be backed up by a bunch of Javs. Well, a bunch of Peacekeepers and a couple of Javs. As the Cryocopter comes in, the Vindicators will be able to drop their bombs and mostly escape as the Apollos roll over the battlefield, taking a little bit of damage, but not too much as they escape back to the main base with their health bars intact. Darknage has decided to focus on the high ground, to focus on this frontline battle, and now that he's got 3 Athena cannons and more jabs, a couple of Apollos on Overwatch, he can keep this front line pushing forward as long as he doesn't die to a sudden Vindicator strike. Meanwhile, on the backside, it is going to be MMR Terrorist looking for the backstab move. He's hoping that he'll be able to, kill off this Harvester, kill off the infrastructure of Darknage, but it's going to be Javelin Soldiers on the ground. Apollo's coming in as well. The Apollo fight will be won by the Jabs on the ground, but no! The last Vindicator drops his bombs, and now it's going to be a 1-to-1 on the Apollos. Barely! Darknage wins that fight as the Apollo crashes down into the Peacekeepers, and the Cryocopters will escape out to the safety of the Hydrofoil. Athena Cannons keeping the front line moving forward. As soon as that MCV is forced to move, bye-bye Cryocopters, bye-bye upgraded tech of MMR Terrorist. Cryoblast going to be firing off. It's not on top of the Athena Cannons, but they can fire off their Aegis Shield. They will be able to block and absorb some of that freezing power. Vindicator's going to be coming in, and the Peacekeepers will find a little bit of saving ability here, but not enough for the MCV, so there goes the tech, there goes the production of the MMR Terrorist. He's finding himself terrorized as the front line moves ever further closer to him, and Darknage gets ever closer to that match with Demon. A best of one can be a brutal format. You only need one win, you only need one build to save yourself to the next round of the tournament, to keep your hope alive. And the airfield getting targeted down. The backstab has not worked. This Assault Destroyer getting trapped on the low ground. Peacekeepers will find the kill against it, and the freeze ray comes down on the power plants, but they might actually just thaw before the Peacekeepers get in range. It doesn't matter. The front door has been broken open. The only hope is going to be some kind of cross-map base trade play, as MMR Terrorist is hoping to keep his own front line moving and keep Darknage at bay. But MCV versus no MCV, this is a difficult order to try and come up against. Did he sneak out an MCV? It looks like the answer is no. Naval Yard goes down, and I think that is the end of production. No, he snuck out another Naval Yard! Oh, MMR with $2 grand in the bank might actually be able to sneak out, sell off this multi-gunner turret. He might actually be able to sneak out an MCV there. MMR desperately hoping that he can bide his last few seconds. He's got low power mode. He is getting frozen out of his own main base, and he has not managed to shut down Darknage's main base. Javelin Soldiers going to be coming in. IFVs as well. There's going to be the shrink on the IFV, but there's more than enough jabs to take down these Cryocopters if they could only close the distance and send them to an early grave. The Apollo will get the kill. The Apollo will get the chase. Even the Vindicator being gunned down, but the Hydrofoil will trade back one for MMR. Finally, that multi-gunner turret goes down. This MCV so close to finishing up, but it just will not be enough. It will not be the saving grace of MMR. Oh well, it looks like Darknage will be going into the next round as MMR Terrorist taps out, says the GG, and well, we will see how far Darknage can go in this event. Up next, he'll be against Demon. But first, we have to see who Dutch Army is facing in the top side of the bracket. And that takes us to Deep Sea for game one of our next best of one. In the north, playing the Red Allies, this is Dutch Army. And in the south, playing as the Yellow Allies, yeah, we get 2 Allied and mirrors in a row. This is Sylvia. Now, I am unfamiliar with Sylvia, but according to Dutch Army, Sylvia is a Chinese player. So they are someone that I am a little bit less familiar with, but a number of the Chinese players have shown up in Christmas tournaments in the past and done not only very well, but also showed us some phenomenal games. And in some cases, like Zugspitze, even won the event overall. They just kind of show up, blaze through everybody, light everything on fire, and then sometimes we don't see them for a little while. Sylvia, not a player I'm familiar with. We've seen a number of crossovers between kind of the European server and the Chinese server in the last year. Win 9, Toolman, Harlan, DDF, Zugspitze, and Sylvia seems to be a new face on the block. Deep Sea, as we were just talking about, takes very easy for third refineries, maybe a little bit more difficult for fourth and fifth refineries. We also saw Demon in the double elimination get a very quick win on this map. Dutch Army's running for that building. Will lose a couple of Peacekeepers on entrance. Ooh, loses one extra Peacekeeper and will be ejected almost immediately, evicted from that building. One sneaky Peacekeeper on the low ground, going for the scout, going for the backstab. I don't know that one Peacekeeper will be able to do too much, but maybe Dutch Armies has some super secret invincible plan for that Peacekeeper. Behind all of this, double barracks still around. Single barracks still around for Dutch Armies. Single barracks still around for Sylvia as well. Javelin Soldier is going to try and target down that Civ structure. And the third refinery is up and running for Dutch Armies. Third refinery now online for Sylvia as well. So they've both stabilized at that 3 refinery kind of place. No airfields just yet. No alternate production facilities of any kind just yet. It's been the barracks into the third refinery for both players. The attempt at the Javelin Soldiers, it may not really work out for either team. Dutch Army takes a little bit of damage, but he gets both of the Peacekeepers of his opponent. Oh, he's force firing on the ground. He's trying to utilize the splash damage as well. Multi-gunner turret does get deployed. Honestly, that's kind of a win for Dutch Armies. Forcing your opponent to deploy a multi-gunner turret back there, that's not where the Vindicators are going to be flying in. That's not where the front line is going to be pressured. That multi-gunner turret is completely useless in most games on this map. That's a win for Dutch Armies to be able to get your opponent to deploy a multi-gunner turret in that spot. Still, no airfield from Dutch Armies. Kind of surprised, but I do expect the airfield will be added on momentarily. No, it's going to be the War Factory. It's going to be the Tier 2. Instead, the Armor Facility now online. The Guardian Tanks pumping on out. Okay, the IFV's pumping on out. No Guardian Tanks just yet, but Dutch Armies, instead of going for the airfield, goes for the War Factory. Peacekeepers loaded up into those IFVs. Vindicators circling nearby. Multi-gunner turret gets deployed. Jav's going to be moving into position, maybe. Just one Javelin Trooper, but it's enough to shut down both Vindicators. Trades 2 Vindicators for 1 IFV, and that's 2 wins for Dutch Armies. The multi-gunner turret at the back and trading out 2 Vindicators for 1 IFV. It does look like Sylvia is going to take control of the middle of the map, but so far, it's not a lot of losses from either side. So the margins are still relatively thin. Taking control of the middle of the map might be the first real big progress for Sylvia in this game. Maybe the first step towards a victory. Building does get broken down. That area has now been reclaimed for the map. Peacekeeper's going to be backing on off. I do like the backstab. The Peacekeepers around the side going to be looking for a bit of an opportunity, looking for a bit of an opening. Vindicators once again coming in. One Vindicator goes down. Second Vindicator gets eliminated again. The 2 Vindicators for a single IFV play just is not working for Sylvia. Wall's going to be getting broken down, and 1 Javelin Soldier is not going to be enough firepower to knock down these IFVs when there are Peacekeepers around. And for now, the IFV is going to be moving into position, stopping the walls from getting built up, and it will be a Peacekeeper in the building to try and save this attack and do even more damage against Sylvia. This is not a good opening for Sylvia. Double multi-gunner turret in the bit. No, okay. Wow, never mind. No turret push for you. I mean, okay, let's all admit it. Dutch Armies was in a very good position. That was a phenomenal opening for Dutch Armies. Maybe Sylvia could have fought that one out a little bit longer. It's a best of 1, but that will do it for this game. Let's jump into Demon versus Darknedge. So welcome back to Liberation Freeze as the battleground for this next and final best of 1. The finals are coming up next, and we will leave behind the best of 1 format for the almost equally quick best of 3 format. So it is not going to be a long finals regardless, but in the north, playing the Allies, playing blue, this is Darknedge. going up against the Yellow Empire player in the south, going up against Dimon. You beat someone, and now your next best of one is Dimon. It is not a particularly good prize that you win, but it is a prize nonetheless. And look at this. Darknage is Delane, the engineer of Dimon. Not necessarily by a lot, but by a little. And Dimon is going to be delayed in getting that oil derrick because of that. So that is a win. No one can take that away from Darknage. He delayed Dimon's oil derrick. It would be really sad if Dimon went like 3 or 4 barracks and just rushed Darknage, and he just killed him right there. So literally, the only thing that was going for Darknage was denying that oil derrick for a minute. But that's a win. Dimon coming in from the double elimination tournament, having a relatively good showing, but he didn't win, I guess spoilers, he didn't win the double elimination tournament. You know, he did very well. He played quite well, but he didn't win. So maybe he's going to find his win here, but it's not with engineer control like this. This is a hilariously long time that engineer was waiting. Normally, Dimon much more on top of stuff like that oil derrick capture. In this case, we do see him a little bit slow, a little bit lagging in that sense. Imperial Warriors going to be splitting away from those Vindicator bombs, and a couple of Imperial Warriors will get cleaned up there, but the oil derrick will stand, at least for now. Third refinery not quite up for either player. Dimon still keeping around a couple of these barracks. We'll also grab one of these buildings in the north. Darknage, on the other hand, going to be going for the full scout of Dimon's base, and we'll be able to take that third refinery out on the water. Maybe we'll see someone go for all 4 refineries this game on this map, but it might just be 3. Shields deployed just in time. No additional damage on the oil derrick, though, and now these Peacekeepers are going to be in a little bit of a weird fight. Dimon going to be kind of alternating out how many of his Imperial Warriors have their swords activated at once. Good cycling there from Dimon to keep up the damage on these Peacekeepers, to make sure the Peacekeepers just get gunned down with very little recourse, and Dimon completely wins that engagement. It was a nice attempt by Darknage, but Dimon absolutely got the better of that exchange, and Darknage basically trapped himself with all of his Peacekeepers switching into shield mode at the same time, and Dimon switching his Imperial Warriors in smaller groups into that sword mode. Okay, for a second I thought this might have been an MCV cell into this Tier 2. It's going to be Strikers. We'll see if there are enough Apollos on the deck. Currently, 0 Apollos on the deck. Currently, about $1,000 in the bank for Darknage, but he is going to need some very good anti-air. Still hasn't started an Apollo. I don't think he's spotted these Chopper VXs until just now. Sells off his airfield as well. Goodbye, Riptide, and 1 Apollo does manage to show up. There's the big transform from those Strikers. The Apollo does escape out to the water. Darknage did have an Apollo coming online, but he will have to pay the price for it with these Strikers knocking down the walls, with the Imperial Warriors knocking down that power plant, and it is going to be a difficult hold for Darknage from this point forward. The Apollo can try and re-engage, but it will be up to Dimon to really make some mistakes here for Darknage to be able to come back from this point. Refinery goes down, power plant's going down, main base is being cleared out, and the Strikers can transform basically one at a time, keeping the Riptides at bay, knocking down those walls, letting the Imperial Warriors be the heroes of this game. Imperial Warriors, you can't knock down the walls, but they can do big damage if they're given the chance. Strikers going to be going for the transform. Tsunami Tank also now here. Dimon putting on big pressure with just 2 refineries and finding a win against Darknage with just a couple of units. The Imperial Warriors doing perhaps more damage than anyone else in this game. And if you thought it was going to be easy to go up against Dimon in a best of 1, well, that is not going to be the case. It looks like the finals that we wanted is the finals we are going to be getting. Dimon versus Dutch Army. Can the Cryocopter save Darknage in this case? Can the Cryocopter find a win against an Empire player like Demon? The answer is unlikely, but maybe there will be a miracle to come forth and to keep Darknage in this tournament and send him into the finals off of one refinery and an oil derrick. MCV hanging out at this third refinery location. Demon literally not caring about his future in this game, not being concerned about getting a third refinery, about building up for a later phase, because he's going up against a one refinery oil derrick naval allied player. Someone trapped out on the water who has an airfield, and that is literally it. So it's going to be a tough one for Darknage to make the comeback happen. Darknage is actually fighting this one out as his chances dwindle further and further. It's a best of one, and he is going to be fighting it out to the bitter end. It does feel like he has even less of a chance than Sylvia did, as Sylvia dropped out of that game, as Sylvia headed for the hills. And oh, yeah, the airfield was actually in range of those Imperial warriors. So Demon didn't build 20-30 Tengus at the beginning of the game, so he only has 4 in the match at this point, which, depending on the Apollo numbers, they could actually take this, but they can't take it if they're near the Strikers. The Strikers get 1 Apollo, and the second Apollo is going to walk into the Striker range as Darknage has been defeated. The GG comes out, and Demon will head into the finals versus Dutch Army. It'll be the best of 3 to finish out this event. And the finals will kick off on Liberation Freeze. For the last time in this event, we are going to be seeing this map. In the north, playing the yellows, playing the Soviets. Give it up for Demon! And in the south, playing as the Red Allies, this is Dutch Army! A classic matchup, Demon versus Dutch Army. It's something we've seen a number of times now in the last year or year and a half. And Demon and Dutch Army, it's actually been the finals of a couple of events. I don't remember if it was a Ladder Wars or what, but it was the finals of an event. And, well, spoilers for the name of that event that I can't remember, Demon won. It was a best of 7. Dutch Armies, I think, maybe took 1 or 2 games off of Demon, and then Demon ended up winning that game out. But this is a best of 3. It's not a best of 7. This is a turbo tournament. This is fast. This is furious. This is quick rounds, short event, and everyone gets home by dinner time. So you don't need to win a best of 7. You don't need to win a best of 9. It's no kind of double elimination. There's no hope of the comeback. You just need to win 2 out of 3 games. And in this case, Dutch Army might actually get the kill on the Engineer. Barely gets the kill on the Engineer. Demon going to be very upset about that. Losing the Engineer. It's not the end of the world, of course, but boy, oh boy, does that hurt when you are Demon. Dutch Army going to be feeling good about saving that oil derrick and about killing that Engineer, getting maybe a little bit of a tilt on Demon. War Factory is up. No super reactor started just yet for Demon. No third refinery just yet. Airfield is out for Dutch Army, and the MCV is on the move to a potential third refinery location. Terror Drone will clear out those dogs, deny the scout from Dutch Army, and this is going to be a pretty solid opening from Dutch Army. He kills the Engineer at his own oil derrick, kills the oil derrick of his opponent, and his Vindicator might actually get the kill on a Terror Drone or something. Demon carefully guarding that Terror Drone for now. He's got 2 Bullfrogs out, could have a third one on the way as well, as he heads up to the high ground and hopes to deploy out that third refinery. Starts it up. Dutch Armies hasn't yet started his own third refinery. He is going to be potentially walling in this airfield. So Dutch Armies is worried about some kind of infantry attack coming in here and knocking down that airfield. And to be fair, in the double elimination, Demon did some big damage with just conscripts, with just Molotov cocktails. So you do understand Dutch Army wanting to buy a little bit of time against the fiery terror that is Demon, delaying his own third refinery because of that. Reactor gets denied, and that ore refinery ends up getting canceled there as Demon will be forced to pivot a little bit here. He gets the Riptide, and he is going to be going for a bit of pressure on that airfield, and then he sees the walls. He sees that Dutch Army is kind of tightened up his defense to, I mean, Sickles can break through this, but not in a way that matters in this case. Like, what are you going to do? Run around here and try and hunt down these Riptides, knock down this power plant? You're just going to be dying to those Vindicators. And now, quite suddenly, Dutch Armies is in a fantastic position against Demon. Demon goes for the super reactor, sinks all of his cash into that super reactor, doesn't want any more reactors getting sniped by a couple of Vindicators swinging through his base. And, well, Demon is going to try and do a little bit of damage on the back foot. He's hoping that he can bounce back with some harassment. And Dutch Armies, if this is not a refinery, I don't know what else he is building, but he has delayed his third for a good long while, and he is making it worth his while so far with some big harassment, with some big damage on the other side of the map. And there the third does get deployed. Dutch Armies has forgotten to restart his Harvester. He's, of course, doing a couple of other things at the same moment, but he has forgotten to restart that Harvester, so maybe a couple of extra seconds of lost mining time as he moves back towards stability. No big problem for Dutch Army, though, because, of course, Demon is now even further delayed as he runs out of cash for a couple of seconds there. Demon is even further delayed in getting his own third refinery up and running. Harvester goes down. Adaptive armor was not activated in time. Bullfrogs are slow to the scene of the crime as well. So it's down to 2 refineries. No oil derrick for Demon. No third working refinery. It is a sad day for the Yellow Soviet player. A best of 3 means that a terrible, terrible start in game number 1 brings Dutch Army that much closer to victory, and Demon that much closer to the end of his tournament run. Vindicators pulling away, looking for an opening, but finding only Bullfrogs. Crusher Crane is here. Demon almost certainly going to crush his MCV to try and get himself back online. And Dutch Army's, I don't know, he might, oh, he's, never mind, he's going for the splash damage, hoping to get the freeze, but not going to have enough time, not going to be able to get the freeze, and he will get the kill on that health bar, but nothing else. Takes out a bunch of health from the Harvester, a bunch of health from the refinery as well. And all right, maybe I was wrong. Maybe he's not going for the crush of that MCV. He is going for an airfield. MiGs will eventually be on the menu, but so is Tier 2 for Dutch Armies. A great opening from Dutch Armies, and now he's got cryocopters on the menu. The MiGs have only just now become available for Demon as the first cryocopter graces the map with its presence. And no, Demon is not going for the crush. Demon does not think he is in dire straits, and hey, we've seen Demon turn lots of games around from very difficult positions, and this could be just another one of them. Javelin Soldier's going to be pumping on out there, getting locked down a little bit. The front line is getting locked down a little bit by that terror drone, but now the front line has been broken. One hammer tank goes down, the Vindicators get sliced and diced, and this one MiG keeps away the cryocopter, keeps away the air threat of Dutch Armies. The front line does get pushed back, and that shrink on that MCV might have been the thing that saved Dutch Army's front line. He is going to be forced to back on off. He is going to have to bide his time and wait for another opportunity, wait for another opening. He still has Tier 2. He hasn't started Tier 3. He's not waiting for the Athena cannons in the current moment. But Demon is getting the breathing room that he desperately needed. The time and the opportunity to bounce back. And actually, he's crushing a bunch of his Bullfrogs. He might be crushing all of his Bullfrogs. We'll see. Cycling them out for a big, big cash boost. And okay, no, he's just getting some repairs. He only got rid of 1-2 Bullfrogs, something like that. And I mean, with the cash back that you get from the Crusher Crane, it is a good way to be able to pivot into, I was going to say MiGs, but apparently Flak Troopers also. So he's going Flaks, going Terror Drones, got a couple of MiGs out on the map. going to be pushing away these cryocopters. IFV finds a MiG, finds big damage, kills the MiG. Demon not going to be finding an easy way back in. Dutch Armies is not going to be making it easy for him one way or the other. This is a good number of hammer tanks, though. 4th refinery on the way for Demon. Not so for Dutch Armies. He doesn't believe in the high ground expansion. Demon scouts the northern edge of the map. He sees, hey, there's no refineries up here. Dutch Army does the same thing. And it looks like Demon is going to have a real shot at taking this game back. This is one of those situations where, oh, he went low power mode. Well, that sucks for Demon. Fortunately, he does have the Crusher Crane, so he started the reactor basically immediately. He's going to be back online momentarily. It's feeling like we're going to be coming down to one big final fight. Demon has been able to bounce back far enough that he can fight it out with Dutch Armies. Dutch Armies can potentially shut down these expansions. No, he apparently cannot. And the Riptide will go down. Engineer jabs, whatever was inside of that. Riptide will not get a chance at the attack. Terror Drone gets the infect. That's going to be one Guardian tank eliminated. And with this 4 refinery setup, Demon definitely has a chance to just make a straight-up comeback in this game to completely shut down the fantastic opening that Dutch Armies had. But it all comes down to this big final fight. Whoever wins this fight will be in the driver's seat, and even though the other player may not exit immediately, this will be the opportunity. Dutch Armies doesn't want it to come down to the big final fight. He wants to create a little bit more space before that. If he can shut down this expansion over here, then he might not even have to have this fight to gain his first bit of an advantage. Bullfrog's going to be showing up, and the body block comes in. The Twin Blades moving in to save this refinery. One Bullfrog will go down. Meanwhile, the hammer tanks press forward. IFBs go down. One hammer traded back. Bear's going to be coming to the front line. It's going to be the hammer tanks in the retreat, hoping that they don't get caught by the laser lock of that Guardian tank. Satellites getting called in, and this attack is not getting called off. Dutch Armies dodges to the side and says, let's keep it rolling. Shrink comes in. Hammer tanks need to buy more time. Without being able to deal with those cryocopters, it becomes extremely difficult for Demon to be able to make this attack happen. The cryocopters have not been dealt with. Fortunately, that 4th refinery never got completely shut down by Dutch Army, so the refinery is back online. The Harvester is back to work. Twin Blade's going to be looking for an opportunity on the right side of the map, hoping that Dutch Army's left his back door unlocked, hoping that there is something that can be exploited. Once again, Dutch Army's looking to split up the area of effect. Cryo shot going to be coming in. This blast will not stop these hammer tanks, but no, it catches most of them. 3 hammer tanks survive the freeze, but the rest will be blasted to smithereens, and the 3 don't get the crush that they needed. They don't get the kill on Dutch Army's army, and that will be the GG. The final fight comes in for Demon, and goodbye to every single hammer tank. Those 3 that escaped the freeze could not carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. Dutch Army takes game number 1, a great opening from Dutch Armies, and then Demon claws it back in the mid-game, but in the end, Dutch Army finds the win, the perfect engagement to seal the deal. And welcome back to Deep Sea for game number 2. We've seen Liberation Freeze for the last time. This will be the last time we see Deep Freeze as well. 2 of the newer maps in the pool. In the north, playing as the Yellow Soviets. This is Demon. He needs your cheers. He's down 0-1 in the finals against this man, going airfield first in the bottom side as the Red, as the Allies. This is Dutch Army. Dutch Army going to be feeling real good after game number 1. Opens up Sans Barracks. No barracks for this guy. He's going to be, not worried about that oil derrick, not worried about the buildings in the middle of the map. Meanwhile, it was a double racks opening for Demon. He's still not, spending a ton of cash, but he's dumping a decent amount of money into bears, into conscripts right here at the start of the game. I mean, it does take a lot of bears and conscripts to make up for the price of one Vindicator, so it does, you know, even though there's cash spent on the conscripts, it's not necessarily a ton of money out of pocket for Demon. Vindicators making their runs. I don't think any flak troopers. Yeah, no flak troopers at the beginning of the game for Demon. So he's just going to be losing those conscripts, forcing Dutch Army to split the bombs. Nice bomb splitting so far by Dutch Army, splitting between all of those conscripts to maximize his Vindicators as much as possible. And now, of course, from this point forward, there is enormous advantage to Demon, or to Dutch armies. I'm going to be switching up these D names, apparently. To play very defensive, to play very careful, very cautious. He just needs to win one more game against Demon, and it's all over. So why would you not play like the safest allies build that you could? Why would you not go for just the most cautious version of this game that you possibly can? Multi-gunner turret is here. Lots of caution before that third refinery is ever going to be deployed. Not wanting to give Demon a single opportunity to use these Molotov cocktails, which we have seen be deadly on this map. Dutch armies is hoping to hold off this horde, this endless mob of conscripts with pure Vindicators, but of course he has added on a multi-gunner turret over at the third. He doesn't want to get overwhelmed and shut down immediately at his natural expansion. Reactor does go down. It does force a secondary reactor to be restarted there by Demon, and Dutch Army is hoping that the combination of MCV and walls, as well as Vindicator, will be able to keep these conscripts at bay. This is so many conscripts from Demon, but he does need a plan behind this. Vindicators aren't going to take a super long time to clean up all of these conscripts, and there's, oh my gosh, there's more conscripts crossing the map. What is this build? What is this build from Demon? Every time I look at the minimap, there's just more conscripts streaming across the map. I don't actually know how he is affording so many conscripts. He has 3 refineries. He gets a roar off. Dutch armies gets a critical roar to knock down these conscripts, to stop the bear as well. Multi-gunner turret at the front. Additional power plant online now, and the dog will be able to shut down these conscripts, shut down this dog with the help of that multi-gunner turret. And it looks like the dog will go down, but the bear will survive for the moment. But the main base is being made safe. Reactors getting sniped. The MCV, is it in the middle of the map? It may very well be from Demon. He's gone down to the low ground. He's going for that fourth, and he is keeping up the pressure. If Demon gets 2 wins with only Peacekeepers on this map, that will be truly amazing in 2 different Christmas tournaments. Harvester being brought off the line. These conscripts are going to have to dodge and weave as the Harvester comes for the kill. The MCV as well. The Riptide, the only one with guns here on the front line against these conscripts. And finally, the conscripts have been broken. The attack has been pushed back, and Demon is going for a sneaky 4th base on the low ground. But this is super close by air to Dutch Army. This is such a bizarre choice for Demon to be going for that in this moment. Mass flak trooper transition, more flak troopers than these Vindicators can safely deal with. Vindicators taking a bit of damage, and it's going to be into the turret push for Dutch armies. He says, I can do this dance too. Vindicators come in. 2 of the Vindicators get eliminated, but it's going to be the Riptides on the bottom that are able to knock down the rest of these flak troopers. This bear thought that there were going to be Peacekeepers popping out of those Riptides, but no, it's not Peacekeepers. It's one engineer going for the capture, gets the sell, gets the deny of that 3rd refinery. The barracks gets deployed, and Dutch Army wants to go out in style. He says, well, I'm not going to be going for a turret push. I'm going to be going for an engineer cap of your refinery. The turret does get deployed, but it's to kill off the bears. It's to deny this structure from doing any more damage. And now the MCV is on the move. No more engineers here for these Riptides. Sentry gun does get deployed. Demon is going to have to dodge more cryo shots. He does not dodge that one. He's worried more about his low ground expansion, and Demon is going to be keeping the refineries, keeping the barracks rolling as he decides to only build infantry units challenge. Game number 2, his tournament life on the line, and he says no war factory, no naval yard, no airfield. Just barracks. Power might be going down, the lights might be turned out, but no, actually, Dutch Army has sold off a bunch of his multi-gunner turrets. He only has the one there at the front door of his main base, integrated in with that wall, and once again, the walls are causing some difficulties for Dutch Army, but here, the Riptides are going to be helped out by these Vindicators, opening up the walls, allowing this Harvester to be harassed, and Dutch Army is about to have a double barracks push to deal with from the low ground. Well, this ore refinery back up to full health. If it ever lost anything, it is back up and healed. And, of course, Dutch Army is looking to do the base swapperoo, the do-si-do, as they change partners and change spawning positions. Dimon might be taking over the main base of Dutch Army, and Dutch Army might be taking over the main base of Dimon. 4 refineries up and working for Dutch armies. Not a cryocopter in sight, although he might be going tier 2 right now. He's got a pretty safe position at this airfield, at his new 4th refinery. What a weird game this has turned into. No, he didn't go tier 2. He went maybe for another power plant or something. I'm not sure what he built. I think it was another power plant. As he sets up in the middle of the map, Peacekeepers and Riptides to hold down the middle of the map, and it's going to be a war factory on the low ground. Dimon finally breaking his tradition. He says, I am going to build a war factory. I'm going to do it. I've heard it's pretty good. And what a bizarre game this is turning into. Peacekeepers on the high ground. Terror Drone jumps on out. It's going to be Conscripts hoping that they can go toe-to-toe with the Peacekeepers on the high ground. And the MCV is going to pack on up. The Vindicators on Overwatch, going for that MCV. And the MCV will go for the crush on the Riptides. These Riptides might be getting caught a little bit by the terrain. You can see they get caught by the corner of the map as they try and navigate this location. Those Riptides don't move smoothly. They sometimes have some awkward bits to their movement. And in this case, Riptide's getting caught, Riptide's getting killed. Dutch Army's hoping that he can hold off this endless tide of yellow swinging around to the right side of the map. Another Riptide will go down, but the MCV gets eliminated. It's going to be all about this Terror Drone and this big infantry force. Flak Troopers are here, Conscripts are here, even a Sickle getting in on the action. The Sickle is going to be here to body block on the front line. It's going to be the Vindicators going for those bombing runs, and Dutch Armies just needs to fight this one army, and the game is won. 4 refineries versus 3. Behind all of this, the Terror Drone has gone down. The Sickles have gone down. It's Riptides versus Conscripts. Flak Troopers, the only thing that can do anything in this fight. And the Riptides will prevail. The Vindicators doing mass damage. And the last Flaks fall as Dimon's chances of winning the tournament come to a close. And Dutch Armies wins a 2-0 with a goofball build from Dimon. Dutch Armies always cool, always calm, always collected in this game. Dimon with the faster 3rd, with the faster 4th, claims the win early on, but Dutch Armies claws it all back and wins the fight against the infantry-only Dimon? What was that build he was trying? What a weirdo build that Dimon brought out in the last game of the tournament. He's at an 0-1 in a best of 3, and he's like, I'm going to try all infantry. We've seen Dimon go for some weird stuff in the past. We've seen no airfield builds from Dimon, but in this case, it's all infantry in the finals. But that's one of the great things about the Turbo tournaments. They're fast, they're furious, it's quick, and it's done. And Dutch Armies is the victor. Big thanks to Rage of Heat for setting up this event, for donating the prize pool. Strider as well for donating to that prize pool as well. Big thank you to everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed these games. Thank you all very much. And this is Sybert signing out.